Hi, welcome back to the channel. It's week 14, our next simulation, but first, let's go find out if I have a stress fracture or not.
Going in! 3, 2, 1, go!
So I had intentions of showing some of the doctor information and x-rays on here, but that didn't work out as far as vlogging my doctor's appointment. But the good news is they don't think there's any stress fracture in there. They did only do an x-ray, which doesn't always show, really tiny ones. But like I've said over the past few weeks, it acted more like tendonitis and they agreed. So they gave me a steroid shot in my foot, which was lovely. And actually, I've had them in my foot before, and doing it on the top as opposed to the side didn't really hurt as bad as doing it on the side. And then gave me a prescription for the anti-inflammatories. They could only see me for my foot. I guess it's some sort of insurance billing thing. They can't bill for more than one body part or whatever. So, but I'm fairly certain that the prescription for an anti-inflammatory will just help my knee as well. So the only problem with that is that if I actually have a tear in my knee, it'll still, continue to get worse, obviously, and, may still feel uncomfortable when I run. So we'll see. But because I got the shot in my foot, I haven't been able to run for a couple of days. But, earlier, prior to that appointment on Thursday, I was just doing easy runs because I thought I was going to be doing 15 miles today, which is Saturday, but obviously I am not doing the simulation, hence the bike in the back of my car. So yesterday, Friday, I just went to our local gym and did the elliptical for 30 minutes and then did some strength training. And I'm out here now and I'm planning on doing a good bike ride for about an hour and doing maybe a little bit more strength training this afternoon. So it is super foggy, but I actually think there's a fishing competition going on. So we'll see what we see on this bike ride today. So obviously I've had to rewrite my training plan. So my 15-mile simulation will be next weekend instead of today, like I mentioned. I thought I would have to, it was just going to throw everything off. But actually, what ended up happening with what I had originally written is I only lose one recovery week, which means that when I go to wine and dine, I'll have to really make sure, because that was going to be quote-unquote a recovery week, but there was going to be one the week before that. That's the one that has disappeared now. So when I go to wine and dine, I'll definitely have to make sure that I am just taking it super easy, which I usually do anyway. But y'all, look how foggy it is. Let's get started. Bike back in. There was a lot of people out this morning. I guess we have the the campgrounds are still pretty full. So we got the the fall people coming to look at leaves, and I mean there was a lot of people running, a lot of people walking dogs, so I wasn't really able to keep up a good pace where I could really get my heart rate up, so that was a little disappointing. But I mean, movement is better than no movement, and I'm looking forward to testing out how it feels to run on Monday next week. But now I'm gonna go home and change, and I'm actually going to my parents' church, this little fall festival thing, so I might, if it's cute, I'll show a little bit of that, and then we'll wrap up kind of another low-key week. It wasn't intended to be that way, but sometimes your body just tells you, hey, we need to take an extra week before we do another long run. So it's better than just being injured even longer. So we'll wrap up this week with Run the Mile You're In. So a interesting, but at the same time not very interesting week 14. Foot, what was really amazing is even just a few hours after that shot, my foot was already starting to feel better, and I wasn't really sure if that was the shot or the numbing spray that they used before the shot. But walking around, it already feels better. So we'll see Monday of week 15. I'm gonna just try for a quick couple of miles before we have a Costco shopping date with, me and my husband. So we'll see how that goes next week. But I'm feeling favorable that between the shot and the anti-inflammatories, and if I stay on top of stretching, icing, all that, we'll at least make it to St. Jude. I don't know, the time goal thing just might be out the window, but I feel confident that I could at least finish St. Jude. I could finish Dopey. It just may not be what I think or want it to be, which actually goes perfectly with our chapter for this week. Chapter 14 is called Unoffendable. So he talks about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to start off with, and how they were put in the fiery furnace, but God sent a fourth in the fire with them, help protect them from being burned up. And that whole deal. So what he says in here is, what really hit me wasn't so much the young men's confidence that God would deliver them, but rather their steadfastness to God, independent of whether he showed up. Their devotion, love, and affection toward God could not be broken by results. And he says that speaking of Ryan, he says that he decided that even if the opposite of my dreams came to pass, nothing was going to affect my heart towards God. So, and then the example he gives from his life is when he was running in the Beijing Olympics, and he was feeling really good about how he was going to perform. He started, and when he started the race, he very quickly kind of fell back way farther and was really struggling with doubt and disappointment. And he was like, God, I thought, I was feeling really good. I thought, something great was going to happen for me during this race. And he shares a little bit of, a little tidbit from Dina Castor, which a lot of us know that name. Says, Dina told me that you go through both good and bad patches in a marathon. So when you're going through a bad patch, you need to keep fighting because eventually you will come out on the other side. And I really like that because it's like that for life too. I mean, you got mountains and valleys, but you're never in a valley forever. It might be a really long valley, but you're never stuck in a valley forever. I believe that God uses those hard times usually to teach us things. Maybe not usually, maybe like every time you can learn something. And so what he talks about is, when he was having that hard patch, he started praying, and he felt that God put it on his heart, instead of focusing on himself, encourage the people around him. And I read that and I was like, isn't that every Run Disney race I've ever been to? Because that whole community is so encouraging of each other. And that's part of what makes that energy so great. And to see people who have worked really hard to accomplish even just, a beginning race like a 5K or a 10K, or the big ones like a half and a full, and then the challenges. It's so great to see that whole community encouraging of each other. So, and he says that when he started just, encouraging these people around him, he noticed that he started passing people. Like, he would pass a guy, encourage him, and then he realized how many people he was actually passing. He was moving up towards the, you know, the lead pack again. And it was, and he says it was because I was simply focused on trying to help the guys around me instead of focusing on how he was feeling. And he says that I experienced the truth that when we encourage others, we ourselves will be encouraged. And from Proverbs 11:25, it says, "The generous man will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered." And so he talks about, as he, like he mentioned, as he was encouraging people, he realized that he was focusing not on how he was feeling bad, and it was actually helping him run better. But eventually he got to this point where he had gotten so far up that he still wasn't quite with the lead pack, but there was a whole bunch of people behind him, and he once again was running alone, and there wasn't anybody around him to, you know, encourage. And then he kind of started to get back into his own head again. And so he, you know, started praying. And he says, I felt God speaking to me again, and this time he was saying, this isn't everything you dreamed of, but this is everything you need. At that moment, I knew I could trust that even when things don't go as I hoped they would, God knows what is best for me, and whatever he gives me is good for me. And so he takes all that and, you know, relating it to how he didn't, you know, finish that race the best he wanted, but he's able to take what he learned and apply it to life. And he says, removing my expectations of how I want God to show up and shifting my eyes towards what God is doing in and around me is a daily goal, because I see this as a primary way I can be thankful to God rather than offended toward him. So that was appropriate for me, I think, because, you know, I think the ideal situation is we can get through a marathon training cycle without any injury, but I don't know if that ever happens for anyone. So, you know, I think that if I can get through this season, like I said, this little valley, it'll make that mountain even more sweet. Because I know that I had to be patient, and I had to work hard. And sometimes working hard is giving my body a break. And I mean, I feel excellent right now, not having ran for, let's see, you know, a couple days. You know, I did elliptical, I did bike, you know, and Sundays I take off. So I think sitting right now thinking about how I'm doing 15 miles doesn't stress me out like it did at the beginning of last week. And I guess it's because I feel more rested, even though I still am worried that when I go out and do that 15, my knee's gonna hurt or my foot's gonna start hurting. And we'll just have to see. And I'm hoping it's not like where I probably should have stopped before with my knee. I'm hoping that it doesn't get to a point where I will have to stop and not complete the 15. But like I said, I feel excellent right now, going into week 15. So, but anyway, I hope everyone's good, and everyone that actually was able to do a simulation for week 14, that I hope it went well. Leave me a comment, some words of encouragement that you gained from that simulation. Throw them my way so I can take them into next week. Yeah, so rearranging my training plan wasn't too stressful, actually. I think I may have already mentioned this during the bike ride, but I basically just lost one recovery week, which I think will be okay, because I plan on taking it super easy at Wine and Dine, and not doing a whole lot of outside walking other than the 2 races. And I will take it very, very slow. It'll be the slowest half marathon I've ever ran or walked or, whatever. Yeah, so we're just gonna take it real easy, since I lost a recovery week, having to push the runs out, because I still want to have at least one recovery week between each long run. So, and I'm not counting Wine and Dine as a long run, because I'm gonna walk a lot. But anyway, so I hope everyone's well. Be sure to give this video a like. Like I said, leave me a comment. Let me know how your simulation went. Send all the good luck prayers and good vibes for my simulation next week. And be sure to subscribe. Got simulation, and we got a trip up to Boone, North Carolina coming up to help the hurricane victims. So that'll be some very different cross training, but I'm totally treating it as such. Getting to help, and then also probably getting a lot of upper body work, which I seriously lack. It'll be good. Always remember that you are God's masterpiece, and I'll see you next week.